All right, here we are. Welcome back to the Canadian Bro Show. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show podcast, episode 83. We're just slaying it over here. We are going to help every single Canadian that wants to be helped in episode 83 in the art of reinvention, aka hashtag second chapter in life. And the handsome gentleman that is to my right and your immediate left in red is none other than the most prolific writer that I know and a friend of over 53 years, Mr. Johnny Leister, the co-host of the Canadian Bro Show podcast. Johnny, how you doing from the Vancouver Library in beautiful Vancouver?
Well, it's very mild today. How are things in Kelowna? We're having wildfires in British Columbia, everybody. It's quite terrifying.
Yeah, we have a state of emergency in British Columbia right now. EB, our current regime, head of our current regime at the NDP, have destroyed systematically British Columbia. That's for another episode. $14 billion in the hole. Thanks, Mr. EB. You'll be gone soon enough. A stain in Canadian history. On to the show, shall we? I'm not being political, I'm just not a huge fan. And British Columbia is a very beautiful place, but to answer Johnny's question, I'm in very, very sunny, or at least it used to be sunny about a week ago. I'm absolutely covered by dozens of out-of-control fires surrounding me. To the north, Vernon, Armstrong, Kamloops, Salmon Arm. To the east of those communities, there's numerous indigenous communities. Our hearts and prayers go out to all of these people. Up around me is just to the south of me, all the way from Osoyoos to almost Kelowna, is approximately 24 fires, of which at least a dozen of them are out of control. The one that's burning the closest to us right now is Peachland is on, which is just next to West Kelowna on the other side of the 100-mile Okanagan Lake across the bridge from Kelowna and the communities of Kelowna. We're not far. We're right on the other side of this massive lake, and Peachland is on the precipice of evacuation. Summerland on Friday night at 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:53 to be exact, is when I first noticed it. I was up and a little bit panic-stricken because it looked like the apocalypse outside. And it's quite frightening. Just so people know, the Kelowna, the Okanagan Valley, is the top end of the Sonoran Desert that goes all the way through, southern Mexico, all the way through the Americas. And it is a dry, arid desert community, even though British Columbia, not too many places in the world actually have a rainforest and a desert in the same province that can fit France, Germany, Italy, and probably quite a few of the Caribbean countries, just to throw it in to fill that space.
I had no idea that there was desert land in British Columbia.
It's incredible. And so that desert land is dry and arid. It's a different type of humidity up here. It's lovely for the most part. Not when your house is burning down, of course. And the Summerland has been completely evacuated. There's 25,000 people. The entire town's empty. And Peachland will be next. And Penticton is where a lot of people are evacuating to. Because where are you going to displace 25,000 people in the Okanagan Valley when Highway 97's closed? But thank you for asking. Look it up online, everybody. It's something that we have to deal with up here in the Okanagan. It's not just the Okanagan. There's fires in Washington, in Idaho, all through the states, and British Columbia and Alberta, and all parts of Canada. So getting back to the show, we want to talk about episode 83, Johnny. And we both know very much about this episode because this is a series of our wellness episodes that we've done. I think we've done about 10 or 11 episodes. Episode 83 is a continuation of our wellness, and we're continuing to add more people to the demographic, as it used to largely be men in the first 2 years of our existence on our YouTube channel at the Canadian Bro Show. All things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. Episode 83 focuses on a new demographic to our channel that is growing very much at 27% right now, and that is Canadian female bros are starting to watch the show. So thank you for watching, and I think it's in large part to our guest hosts, Kaylin, Marianne Kirk, who has been on the episode, Johnny, am I correct, 4 times now?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think more than one a hat trick plus one.
I mean, it seems like more because she's just so dynamic and wonderful and grounded, and she brings, that feminine and she's that female approach and disposition and perspective that sometimes the bros just don't get, or in many cases have no idea at all. But getting back to the show, is we want to talk about the art of reinvention, and we're focusing on an age category that Johnny and I remember still, 40 to 70, both men and women in Canada. Is this an awakening? Are we on the precipice of, as a nation, as the best country in the world, the second largest country in the world, with more resources than any other place in the world, with new leadership that is actually doing something for the first time in the history of Canada, with Mark Carney, our current Prime Minister, who I think is doing an amazing job. Please look at the ticker below before we get into the show, Johnny. And that tells you about all our future shows and current shows. And if you're interested, at the Canadian Bro Show. Before we start, if you enjoy this kind of free entertainment, please subscribe just below us at the Canadian Bro Show. And remember, before we start, we at the Canadian Bro Show podcast, we play hard. We stay laser focused, and we always live our game. Welcome to the Canadian Bro Show. Johnny, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to change the music to our regular urban groove because that's how we roll at the Canadian Bro Show podcast. There we go. Johnny, before we get into it, how are things in Vancouver? Are you good? How's work?
Things are fine. Work is fine. I uploaded another Lee Hacklin story today.
Great.
And I'm a self-published author. I write a series about a private investigator named Lee Hacklin.
Right.
And this one is called Chicago Ready, Chicago Start, Chicago Go.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm biased. That's my favorite subtitle.
I love it too. And we're going to be doing a chapter of that at the end of the show. So please stay. And every episode, we also talk about the current books we're reading. And Johnny's going to do a pun. But in the meantime, these are topics that I'd like to just share with both of us right now and get into it. Okay, Johnny?
You ask a question, then I ask a question?
Well, let me just read this first, and we'll take it from there. You'll see as it opens up exactly how clear we follow that path. And the topics that should spark a great conversation, and Johnny's got some things he'd like to bring up. I've got some things I like, and we're going to bounce them back and forth and hopefully answer a lot of those questions that you might have. If you're over 40, a male or female, even into your 70s, and you finally find yourself looking to reinvent yourself, you have the opportunity. If you have the opportunity, watch this show. And by watching this show, and this is not the only show on this topic, but this is something Johnny and I have been doing ourselves for over 20 years.
Not to be overly boastful, but I think that you and I, bro, are living proof that reinvention is possible and doable with the right mindset.
Well, I totally agree with that, and not to toot our own horns, but let's get right into the show, and let me just, I'm just going to just generally ask a couple of open questions. We don't have to answer them, but these are where we're leaning at towards today's episode. Okay. Is Canada still a place where hard work leads to guaranteed financial security? Has technology changed life after 40 in your 50s and 60s? Are men and women facing different pressures as they age? What does a successful retirement look like in today, tomorrow, or the future for you as a male or female? Please, in your comments, share with us. Let us know anything that you can offer in this show in the comments. We will answer every single one of them, and we encourage people to take a part of this, because these are all things that both Johnny and I and everyone that we know, our family in that 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's better to pay attention now and prepare for the future. We all know, Johnny, what happens when you're not preparing for the future.
Right.
Bad things can happen.
Fall from under our feet. And
I'm telling you, if you're not prepared, you're prepared for failure. If you're prepared, you have a better chance of success. And how can Canadians improve their health without spending a fortune? Well, move to Canada, first and foremost, and then take care of yourself like Johnny and I do. In a sense of community, stronger or weaker in Canada than it was 30 years ago? That's a good question. In episode 83, the Canadian Bro Show, we focus on Canadian pop culture, Johnny and I. We do a wellness series. We do cinematic reviews. We do author. We do interviews. We do writers. We have a very broad perspective because Canadian pop culture is a broad perspective, but we tend to follow the things that we have experience in ourselves because, Johnny and I are not doctors. We're not directors, not yet. We're both writers, but Johnny's a much better writer than I am. And so we like to talk about the show. The podcast blends current affairs with personal experience and conversation. And we try to frame that discussion around the central question. Canada after 40 years of age. Are we living better or just working harder to stay afloat? What I like about this approach, Johnny, when I was trying to come up with some topics that we could lead into and dig into it deep was, I think this approach invites discussion of finances, health, relationships, purpose, and the future without focusing on just one issue, making it relevant to both men and women in our target audience.
Those are all equally important.
I think so. And to get into that, I think episode 83 is the art of reinvention. If you haven't reinvented yourself, as I have numerous times in my life, it is one of the most liberating and profound things. It's an awakening that you could possibly do, an intervention perhaps if needed, or you step into a different dimension that you had no idea.
It's the difference. It's the difference between being a player and a spectator.
Excellent. I love that. And remember, always play hard, always stay laser focused, and whatever you do, live your game. Here at the Canadian Bro Show podcast, let's get into it. And so the 10 deeper questions. The first question I have for you, Johnny, to start this off is, has Canada changed more in the past 10 years than it did in the past 30?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, with technology. And look, there are drawbacks to technology. Obviously, people are having a much harder time communicating with one another because everyone's looking at their phones. Listening skills have deteriorated dramatically. I know I'm guilty of that too sometimes.
Including us.
But I look at technology as more of a plus than a minus. If it wasn't for technology, we wouldn't be doing this right now. We'd be doing something else right now. I'd be sitting in a movie theater, or I'd be sitting at home watching TV and still weighing 200.
Which we did for decades of our life anyways.
Which I certainly did, and there's no going back. But
and so did I.
Technology saves lives, medical technology, and it affords late bloomers like ourselves unlimited opportunity. It amazes me that more and more people aren't doing what we're doing. Everyone has their own stuff going on in their lives. Yeah. But for goodness sakes, to take advantage of technology. It's getting better. It can be frustrating at times. It can be, sometimes you kind of feel like, oh, I have to jump through this hoop. I have to jump through that hoop. But if you took all of this stuff away, we'd basically be still living in the Stone Age. I mean, life is not about wheel spinning. Life is constant, is a continuance about moving forward, growing, building, learning. And I thank God for these men and women who are so smart, so innovative. You know, these real life Tony Starks and Howard Hugheses that are able to visualize this stuff. They have it in their mind's eye, they have the vision, and then they actually manifest it. Yeah. And this is the most important life lesson. When you begin on a new adventure, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to look foolish sometimes. You might even fail sometimes. You have to prepare for that and tell yourself that it's okay as long as you stay on track, and each time you screw up, you learn something from it. You ask yourself, what did I learn from this experience? How can I make this experience work for me in the future?
Wow, beautiful. 100% agree, and thank you for that first answer to the first open question. And Johnny, do you have something you'd like to share with your experience about a reinvention?
Well, I'm making a list. I'm checking it twice. My first question for you, Paul, is, have your goals changed since you turned 40?
Yes.
Mine certainly have. Many
times. It's I always found that in my life, ageism was never about a number. It was about a decade of life experience. And what have you learned in that past decade? And, we were talking about, 1 to 10 as an example, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. Now we're talking about 40 to 50. And the one thing I can tell you what happened when I was 40 is that my body started changing, and my mind started to change with that. And I started to look at myself closely and realize that I am the exact same person that I've always been. Is that, am I treating my vessel at this stage of my life, our body, our mind, our spirit, our soul, am I treating it as good as I did throughout my entire life? And the first thing I realized, no freaking way.
I was treating my body like it was a carburetor.
I was treating mine like it was a trash pit, and it was terrible. I was partying too much. I was living like I was in my 20s and 30s, and when I hit my 40s, I was still trying to live like that for some reason, and going out all the time, spending all kinds of money. And I started gaining weight. I started to lose some of my body form. And more importantly, my brain started to turn into mush.
Right.
I started to become complacent and lazy. And I was cutting corners. And I wasn't happy. And I started to notice that my unhappiness with myself was starting to take over, because having a massive ego the vast majority of my life, and allowing that to control one's life, that's a whole different episode. But to answer to your question, my life changed in that 10 years from 40 to 50 for the positive. I didn't really catch it until I was 49, after my 48th birthday. I had a big party over at my house, my condo downtown in Vancouver. I rarely ever do that. I never celebrate my birthday. I rarely celebrate other people's birthday because I can't remember all of my friends' birthdays. I mean, it's terrible. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. But after that 48th birthday party, the next 12 years for me was the reason why we're here right now talking about this. Because I knew when I was in my 40s, 15 plus years ago, that I needed to get my own YouTube channel up and start to utilize all the things that I've learned in life thus far, and make a show and find, is there a possibility of finding the truest, bestest co-host of the most? And Johnny fell into my lap.
You could have done a lot worse.
No, I honestly, I could have done a lot worse. There's no idea. But really, that's the longer answer to the question. There's more to it, but I think that's pretty concise. And it resonates with me. It comes from my heart, soul, spirit, and mind. So thank you for asking. May I ask you a question?
May indeed.
So, let me ask you a question. Now, when people talk about success, they always talk about success as a glass half full perspective. You're successful because you're 50 years old, or you're successful because you're an executive in your 40s, but you hate your job, but you make great money. You have affluent friends. You have a wonderful family. You've got multiple properties. You drive a great car. You're still hot in the office environment with both sexes, or none of that, and you feel like you've just completely wasted 20 years of your life in a job that you hate. At the end of the day, how does success after 40, in your 50s, and now 60s look like to you personally now?
To me, I would define as success, the broadest definition that I come up with is, are you comfortable in your own skin? Are you in sync with your mind's eye version of yourself? To me, that is the ultimate success.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, most people would define success in terms of money. That would be the most obvious answer. And yes, I think that makes sense in the real world.
Well, that's what society,
I didn't know what success was really until here I go, shamelessly beating my chest. Until
No, please.
When I self-published my first book in 2019. When I crossed that finish line after
Was that sorry, just quick interjection if you don't mind. Was that the very first time that you
Yeah.
published?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Johnny.
When I had my epiphany, when I realized that I was mortal just like everyone else, and that this shell that my soul is driving is going to conk out someday.
As I like to call it, the vessel.
The vessel, our own little Starship Enterprises.
Right.
It became a motivator. And so after so many attempts to trying to post that first book, The Collected Case of Leaka, 1970s Private Investigator, Book 1, after so many attempts, and as a younger man, I know myself back then, I would have quit after 2 or 3 tries. I just wasn't that guy. If you succeed, try again. And that's what trips up a lot of people. They embark on a new goal, whether it's going to the gym or starting a business or going back to school, and they start with all kinds of enthusiasm and vigor, and they're into it, which is great. But if you rely on that emotion to keep you on track, 9 times out of 10, there are always exceptions, it's not going to work. You're going to go back to the way you used to live, because there are hiccups along the way. There are frustrations, and we have so many temptations around us. And so the couch and the screens and our Netflix, all of that stuff is fine in moderation. So for me, success is, do you like yourself? Are you doing what you're imagining yourself doing? If you're imagining yourself doing something that you know you can do and you're not doing it because you bought into other people's weak mindsets, because of something that happened to you 25 years ago, if you're far afield from who you want to be, then I don't care how much money you have, you might have a great career, you might have a great family, you might be healthy. That little, sorry, I just spat. That's a bad habit. That little woodpecker is going to be nagging away.
At almost 62, I'm wearing glasses for a reason, bro. I can't see a micro liquid dot flying through the hemisphere of that of that studio.
That's something that you don't want to see. So
no, I don't mind.
And
it happens.
Some people will live their whole lives that way, saying tomorrow, making excuses, procrastinating.
So Johnny,
pointing fingers.
Johnny, you're not that type of person.
Well,
I know, but you woke up today,
right?
And the first thing that when you think about success, what is the thing that you're most proud about for yourself?
I mean, that's a long list. I mean, losing 65 pounds, which is something that I didn't think I could ever do. I always knew that I could write, but I didn't know that I could generate so much content. I didn't realize how...
65 pounds?
Yeah, in 2019. Thank you so much. I didn't realize how much I love writing. That it was not just a once-in-a-while thing. That it comes as naturally to me as eating, sleeping, and breathing. And that's what the advice that I always give to people if they ask me, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be Mrs. Kravitz.
Well, that's why we have the podcast, so we can share that ourselves, right?
I always say to people, what comes naturally to you? Just go in that direction and have faith that you'll be rewarded. Because if you don't do it, you're going to suffer. And you can walk around all day long with a smile on your face, which I like. I like people who pretend to be positive. You know that they're trying. They're trying to project a positive atmosphere. But when I was working security for so many years and having so many great conversations with people who were doing a lot more than what I was doing, this would come up every time. Why are you doing security? What are you doing anything else? And I'd hem and I'd haw, and my face would turn redder than it is now, if that's even possible. And I would say something like, oh, well, maybe I'll go back to school. And I was never planning on going back to school. Oh, I do some writing here and there, which I did. But the truth was, I was content to just keep myself afloat because I was having so much fun.
So the reason why I asked that, and we've talked about this many times, and we got to keep the show flowing, is I knew exactly what Johnny was going to say, and I know exactly why I had to interject, because Johnny is a success and will always be a success.
Well, you're one of my role models, bro.
What's that?
You're one of my role models,
well,
bro.
my point is that when you look at success, if you're a male or female, over 40, 50, 60, 70, you're looking at these things. Success is how you discern success to you at that time. If you need to work out, get up every day and work out. That's successful. If you have a career and you've stuck with that career for, as Johnny did, over 35 years, that is extremely successful. Nobody can take that away from you. If you, what?
It all counts.
It all counts. So just
Yeah.
understand that any level of success, if you're trying to discern that to yourself, you're a successful executive female power player in the business community, and you're still not happy. You're successful now, and anything that you do next is going to be successful. So just believe in yourself and believe in the journey and the time that you put in. Johnny, what's your next?
Success is a very positive addiction. Once you get a little taste of it, you want more and more, and that will fuel your motivation.
Well, it does. And why would you want to be unsuccessful after being successful? It happens.
Exactly.
I've failed more than I've succeeded, but I know that failure is not an option, and success is going to be up to me to discern how I play hard, stay focused, and live my game. And so your next question, Johnny.
Sure. Since you turned 40, how has your life perspective changed?
My life perspective has changed so dramatically, 100%. Before I was 40, I thought I was going to be a father. I thought I was going to have a family, and that all just fell apart right in front of me, and to the wayside. Didn't happen, and how it went down was, without getting into personal things, was not pleasant and unfortunate, and I went into a dark place, and I decided, okay, like everything I've done in my life, I tried to manifest success, and I did everything I could to put my wife and myself and my family and friends in a successful transition to start a family, and it just simply, after 3 attempts, I struck out, if you will, using a baseball analogy. But that didn't mean that I was a failure, and it didn't mean that I was a loser. It meant that the plan that I set out for didn't manifest. So instead of wallowing in self-pity and blame and the drama of blaming, being a victim, I turned it around instantaneously and changed my career, got my real estate license, and sold our first property and had my first successful real estate investment drop right in my lap. It changed my whole life. The next 10 years set up the 10 years before that. That's what happened. I had to fail. I failed so magnificently.
Well, we all do. We all do.
But it's how you look at the failure and use that as motivation for the success the next time. So great question.
And you have to make effort before you fail. So if you fail, at least you made the effort. And when we fail, we gain information from that failure. But if we go in the other direction, if we blame other people for our failures, if we make excuses for our failures, well, that's a slippery slope to the couch.
Yeah, that's what everyone does, Johnny. That's the easy way out. At the end of the day, you got to take a long, hard look at yourself and understand that every decision you've made in your life up until this point was largely your decision. So,
every once in a while I go on YouTube and I don't like to watch movies too much anymore because I've seen too many. I've seen enough. But I'll watch that clip from Rocky Balboa where he's giving crap to his son. He's like, it ain't about other people. It's about you and what you want. I mean, it's one of the best. I like what you did with the lip. That's very good. I mean, it's one of the best monologues I've ever heard in a movie. It's not that funny. It's not his fault. Apparently, when he was born, the doctor screwed up with the forceps. And that's why he has that little...
The same thing happened with the back part of my head is flat because of that. Anyways, my next question to you, for people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s is a very popular topic. And I can tell you largely, most people are scared shitless about this question. And and you partially answered this early in previous episodes, has technology made our lives better or simply more complicated?
Well, I mean, both. They're both at the same time. You have to... here's an example. I'll give you a specific example.
Please.
Today, this is a work-related website that we have to go on every once in a while to fill out a survey. It took me about 45 minutes to create a password. And the password, they don't want you to use like John 5 as a password. They want you to use like every letter in the alphabet and the ampersand and the question mark. The passwords they want you to use are so convoluted. It took me like 10 tries to get onto this darn website. And I could feel my father's temper. Now,
That's the first part of the test, is that first question.
And this is where so many people, again, if we need to be in control of our emotions. Because our emotions can serve us, but they can also disempower us. And as I was trying to get on this website, because I have to do this, because they expect you to do a survey by a certain amount of time, and I like to get important things out of the way first. I like to prioritize. If something needs to be done, I want to do it and get it off the shelf so I can do what I want to do, as opposed to what my employer wants me to do. And I remember thinking, I'm going to throw in the towel. This is too hard. I tried 2 or 3 times, and finally it worked.
You persevered.
I persevered. Because I like eating, I like having a roof over my head, and I like my books, and I like doing this podcast. So again, what was your question again about success?
Well, you just answered it. You like your life. You like this podcast. You're manifesting success at this stage of your life, and through every adversity, you have succeeded in challenging every single one to get to this point. And
when I was younger, man, I was a quitter. If something was too hard, I would just quit.
So the whole thing was on technology, which you're not a big proponent of technology. You do have a cell phone. You have a laptop.
I mean, I look at my phone as much as anybody does.
But I would say you're below average when it comes to technology and utilizing it.
I would
and no, but that's why I asked you the question. So what's your next question, Johnny?
Sure. He's making a list. Okay, here we go. What upset you when you were younger that you're more philosophical about now?
Oh, that's easy.
A laundry list for me. Sorry.
That's easy. Yeah, I just go to one. I didn't realize when I was 3 years old that my birth father, as I sometimes called it sperm donor, which really is kind of not really. I need to sort of put that one into the retirement comment and just say, yeah, whatever. So when he made the decision to abandon our family when I was 3 and my sister was just a newborn at 1, and went to my mom, and this is what she told me. I was at 3. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that I loved my father and mother and my sister. That's all I knew. And at least that's what I was told that I knew, because I was 3. And so he went up to my mom, apparently, as mom says, and he goes, I've got some money. I've got the keys to the car. I'm going to go do the shopping for the week. Is there anything specifically that you want? And whatever discussion they had. And she didn't check the car. She didn't check anything. She just believed that he was going to the grocery store to get some food. He had the entire car packed. He stole the car and all of our money.
Good riddance.
And he never came back.
That's very cruel.
And so when that happened, I didn't understand that until a year and a half later. I was a 4.5. And I was like, that's why this guy is never here. Because he just never came back. And that's when my little 4-year-old brain, 4 to 5, started to discern as best I could. Why would my father just get up and leave? Right? And so that changed my entire life at 10 years old for the next decade. That was the first thing that I used to look back and go, I've been abandoned by my own birth father. And that's where I started, right from ground level as a young kid, and tried to learn how to deal with that.
What I always used to think was, how could he do that? How could a man do that?
Well, you know why? I can answer that question now.
How is it even possible?
I didn't know it then, but how he did it was he wanted to get the heck out of the relationship. My mom was a very young lady that just did not have the life skills or the education or knowledge. And he was after a different dream. And that dream was to marry into a wealthy family so he wouldn't have to, he'd have that family take care of him. He could just be on an easy street. And so he spent the rest of his life living that. But I won't go into it. But, that was the first thing that changed my entire life. And and then he showed up. Once that happened, he showed up like 6 months later when I was 10 and my sister was 8. And all of what I just went through, and he walks in the door in a camper van and the hippie thing, he left for Woodstock.
Oh, that's a movie. You should write all this stuff down, bro.
He led for Woodstock, and he went down there. Not just Woodstock. What was his second festival? They did Woodstock first, and they did another one in L.A. that was a huge one as well.
Yeah,
and that's where he went, and it was just peace, love, and happiness. The '60s, right? He just wanted to drop acid and dance and do mushrooms and smoke pot and
selling drugs. How was he able to sustain himself?
He was I think he was selling marijuana.
Great.
Out of his camper van that he made. And he was a playboy, he's a ladies' man, or at least that's what he liked to think of. And that's what happened. Anyways, so my next question to you.
Yes, sir.
Whether you're in a relationship or not, Johnny, we're both men. We're still young enough to be dating. I'm married, of course, but you're still young enough to be dating, and you're single. So the perfect question for you. Are men and women communicating better today?
No.
Or drifting farther apart?
I'd say drifting farther apart.
Okay, let's hear it, bro.
I see a lot of couples every day and holding hands and being affectionate and looking at each other.
Yeah.
I mean, my half glass water is definitely half full, but that is a drawback to technology. You see a bunch of kids hanging around in front of a high school. What are they doing? They're looking at their phones. They're texting each other. They're not looking at each other.
Smoking a joint or a cigarette and trying to be cool.
You're trying to be cool. It really doesn't bode well for the future of the human race in that sense. But again, I mean, look.
And that's happening all over the world, not just in our part of the world.
We have to be disciplined. We have free will. We have to be careful not to become slaves to technology. You know, movies like The Matrix and The Terminator and they could be prophetic, but if those kinds of scenarios actually were to come to pass, it would be our own damn fault. We just need to pay attention. We need to remember that we're human beings, we're social creatures, we need other people in our lives, and we need to listen more, and we need to understand.
Not just listen here.
Yeah, and really understand what other people are going through, and learn from them, and also share what we know, because we can all learn from each other.
Yeah, and that's communication is important. So from a male perspective, is the communication broken because of women, in your opinion, at this stage of your life?
No, I mean, I just think
or do you contribute to the malice, if you will?
I think a lot of guys, especially younger guys, I'm so glad that I'm not a young man in this generation.
Would have been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
I would probably be a video game addict. I'd probably be one of these guys that weighs 300 pounds, living in his
Johnny, you wouldn't have left the couch. You'd still be drinking a 2-4 and a huge bucket of KSC.
If there's such a thing as parallel universes like Star Trek and Back to the Future, in that timeline, I'm 300 pounds. I'm in my mom's basement if she's still around, and I'm just pounding down KFC. And when I'm not licking my greasy fingers, I'm playing Call of Duty 25, whatever it's up to now. You know, my friend Les, our mutual friend Les Fung, he's been one of my friends for a long time. I met him as a security guard. He gave me his first PlayStation, and I was excited. A PlayStation, oh, this is kind of cool. And I played Spider-Man every day, of course with Spider-Man, for about 3 hours. And once I finished the game, like it's almost like a movie. Like you get to the very end and it ends, right?
Yeah.
I unplugged that bad boy, I wrapped up the cord, and I threw it in my closet. I said, never again. No, this is a slippery slope to enslavement. Again, we can have our cake, eat it too.
Well,
as long as we're in control of the cake and not the other way around.
Depends what kind of cake you're eating too.
Well, garlic and onion would be for me.
Yeah, and these days with oh my goodness.
I would actually eat that. I'm probably the only person in the world that would enjoy an onion and garlic cake.
That was good. So very nice, Johnny. And what's your next question for me?
All right, here we go. How is being older than 40 and living in Canada advantageous as compared to living in other countries?
Oh wow. Okay, so I pretty much, I was born in the UK, in Cambridge in the UK, and we came over to Canada when I was very young. I've mentioned it in other episodes. I was less than 1. I was probably 6, 8 months, whatever. And we arrived in Winnipeg and then moved to Vancouver. I didn't know anything about anything back then. I just was happy to be with my father and mother at that time, and I didn't know what was going on. If you see my passport photo, I'm like, I look at the photo like this. It's exactly what you just saw in that look is exactly what I was thinking. I had no idea what was going on or where I was or what country, even who I was. I had no idea.
Alfalfa from the Little Rascals.
Oh my God. And you know, the meat of your question is one word from the meat of your question, then I can just make it really concise. Of your question, what is that one word that you want me to? Because I could go into a whole thing.
How is living in Canada advantageous?
Okay, so I didn't know that Canada was so advantageous until I was probably 27. I had no idea. I just know that I was living my dream. I lived in Kitsilano, north of 4th. I had Kits Beach. I had the best friends. I rode my bike every day. It was sunshine. It was the perfect life. I was living the dream. When I first realized it is when it took me a while. When I left Vancouver, sold everything I owned, broke up with my girlfriend, and quit my job. And my buddy Trent, who's the co-host of the other most on the show with all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Raleigh, moved to Vancouver after Eddie Romagnoli and I were running a restaurant in Lloydminster. This is going way back in the early 90s. And I met Trent. I said, look, you got to get the hell out of here, bro. You got to come to Kits. And when he came down and he settled, I said, it's time for me to go. I gave him all of my furniture. I gave him my apartment a block and a half from Kits Beach with the basketball courts and said, dude, this is your opportunity to grow as a man. And you're out of where you came from. It's your opportunity. This is my opportunity to go and get the heck out of here and finally live my dream of being a professional basketball player. I went over there for 8 years. I didn't work for 8 years. I just played professional basketball. Every time I came back to Vancouver, including the very last time, I went to Kits Beach. And Howard Kelsey and all of his crew at Canada One basketball completely redid the basketball courts. I went to the center of Court A, which is where all the rock stars played, and I kissed the logo on the basketball court. The first thing I did when I get to Kits Beach. I knew then and right there that I will never live anywhere else in the world on a full-time basis than Vancouver, Canada, the best place in the world.
Beach really is amazing. I live right by there. I hardly ever go there.
Dude, you live in people that don't know, Johnny lives in it's called Kits Point. It's, if not the best neighborhood in Vancouver, top 5.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, you are. So thanks for the question. That brought back a lot of memories, by the way.
Yeah.
My turn.
Okay.
Going back to Johnny and I, we experienced epiphanies, unbeknownst to ourselves at the time, almost identical month, identical year, but we didn't know until the future when we joined, and I reached out to him and said, would you be interested in joining my YouTube channel? I want to create this channel called The Canadian Bro Show.
Thank you, bro.
And when I called him, Johnny just was quiet for a second. He went, and I think he was going to cry. He went, my God, dreams do become reality, or something like that, like a writer would say. And he said, absolutely 100%. Here we are 2 years later. And it's quite remarkable. And the beautiful thing about Johnny and I's relationship is that we've been friends over 53, 54 years. And we love each other. We trust each other. We understand each other. And our synergy of team is unbelievable. So thank you, Johnny and Trent and Marianne and all the others that have been a part of this journey in this show. If you like this show and you like free entertainment on the YouTube channel podcast at The Canadian Bro Show, you'll see it below. Play hard, stay focused, live your game. All of those things are extremely important to us at The Canadian Bro Show podcast. But if you could help us out, that would be really awesome. You could subscribe at The Canadian Bro Show. Maybe like, certainly comment. If you're interested in content like this is free. This is a wellness-free educational format for men and women 40, 50, 60, 70. It's filling a large demographic because our demographic's growing. And we're not doctors. We're not scientists. We're not psychologists. We are just simple working class Canadian bros that love life. We play hard. We're always trying to stay focused. And I can speak for myself, and I know Johnny does. I am always living my game. The interesting part of this stage of the life is I'm living my game, but I'm working smarter while living it. Well, and my next question to you, Johnny, because we're both physically active, and that's why I'm turning 62. Johnny just turned 61. And how important, Johnny, is physical, mental, and psychological fitness after 40 to maintaining a solid wellness and mental health regime that's going to benefit you for the future?
It's paramount. I mean, I'm in better shape now than when I was 40. When I was 40, I was bloated. I was addicted to junk food.
I remember.
I was making excuses.
You were a fat mofo.
I sure was. I had all the information in my head. I read all these self-help books, and I would implement that stuff like intermittently here and there, but I was way too comfortable. And this is what kills a lot of people's motivation, is when we're comfortable.
Yeah.
When you hear people say, I'm in my comfort zone, and when I hear people say, I just cringe now. It's like Superman when he finds some kryptonite. It's like it literally sucks energy out of my body.
By the way, 2 Superman and 2 Star Trek and 2 Rocky, all in this episode. You know that Johnny's loving the Canadian Bro Show podcast when he can go back to his childhood heroes.
He's the world's oldest nerd, that John Leister. Yeah. I mean, sorry, what was your question again?
Oh my God, we must be enjoying if we can't even remember our own questions.
A more concise answer.
I know how important to physical fitness for men and women over 40 to maintaining. It's not just physical fitness; it's psychological, it's emotional, it is about the spirit, the soul, the mind. How important is physical fitness as well as mental fitness and psychological fitness to the overall wellness of men and women in Canada over 40s, in their 50s, 60s, and 70s? And we're doing it. It's an easy answer for us.
It's the holy trifecta of body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
It starts with the mind, and then it starts with the body. So many people think, I have to work out 3 hours a day. I have to join a gym. I have to spend a ton of money. No, you don't. Just go for an effing walk. Just move your body. If you get prepped, you won't believe how good you will feel. If you sit around and stew and worry about all the things in your life that are spiraling out of control, that's just going to make it worse. That's like pouring gasoline on a fire. When we get up, when we move, when we take action, a funny thing happens. We start to feel good, and everything is about how we feel. If you feel lousy about yourself, you're not going to have any motivation to do whatever it is you want to do with your life. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And we have to accept ourselves. We have to accept who we are.
Learn how to love ourselves. Very important.
So many. I don't know if this word is allowed to be used in 2026. It's hard to keep up with political correctness in the whole woke culture. But gay people, for so many centuries, they had to stay in the closet. Actors would like go on dates with beautiful women so that people would think that they were straight. That doesn't exist anymore. I mean, maybe in some places around the world that still happens, but certainly not in Western culture. We're much more accepting. We're much more tolerant. Sometimes too much so, but I think it's better to be accepting of what other people are, and also to accept ourselves. And loving yourself is not narcissism. Some people are afraid to love themselves.
Johnny, you might have a fan right behind you. She's enamored with you.
She wants my autograph.
Yeah, maybe she's checking you out though.
Or maybe I want her phone number. No,
she's like, I like red. It's my favorite color.
Right. So yeah, just look. We have to forgive ourselves. So many people are living in the past.
Yeah.
They're just thinking about all the stuff that they should have done, and I know people like that even to this very day. And they think that tomorrow is going to look just like today. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We get into our routines. We're creatures of habit. And sometimes something has to happen to get out of that vicious circle.
So what do you do to get out of your routine? Is you create a new routine that is beneficial to all of the areas of wellness. You have psychological wellness, you have sleeping wellness, you have a life wellness, you have a job wellness, You have a writing. You are every single day in your program. You're living that.
To anyone watching this show, if you're a guy who comes home after work and plays video games for 3 hours a day, look, I'm not judging you. If that's how you want to live your life, and if that's what makes you happy, then
You can
live
be a
on.
girl too. A lot of girls game.
They are. But I always suggest to them, if they say, John, I don't know what to do with my life, I feel like I was saying, look, you think you're having fun playing video games? I get it. I absolutely get it. You would not believe how much more fun you would be having if you were designing a video game, if you were writing a story for a video game. You would be so much happier. That's why whenever I watch a movie, I hardly ever watch movies these days. I've seen maybe 5 movies this year from beginning to end. And
I know you said that earlier in the show. I was surprised to hear it.
Movie junkie. I love movies. But every time I watch a movie now, I think, gosh, I could be writing right now. I'm so much happier when I'm writing.
But this is the discipline that you've found.
And it becomes habit forming. You only have to do it the one time.
Absolutely.
How do I feel? Well, if you feel good, don't we want to feel good about ourselves all the time?
So the answer to this question is your comment. What Johnny is saying is it's habit filled. The body, mind, soul, psychology, all of it wants to be in a sense of calmness and fluidity. And while Johnny's writing for 3 hours, his body, mind, soul, and spirit are in a continuity, a synergy of calmness, because everything is working in what makes you feel wonderful. And that leads to how the whole vessel, the whole system, the whole psychosis
and it has impact.
Yeah, it's incredible, eh?
We need to live our lives that way. This is my mindset in one sentence. I like to think that everything I say and do, every second of my life, affects the entire world. And that's kind of an esoteric concept for some people, maybe even a little bit harebrained. But it doesn't matter because it's a way that keeps me motivated. I will never go back to the way I used to live my life. I still feel like I'm lazy sometimes. I still feel like I sleep more than I need to.
Yeah, no. Let's just stay in our lane, Johnny. It's the best place we've ever been.
But that lifestyle, quote unquote lifestyle, that I lived for 35 years.
Yeah.
I guess I had to go through that to get to where I am now. Of course, I didn't have to. I chose to do it, but it was all worth it to be sitting in this chair, doing this podcast with you, and being much more in sync with my mind's eye version of myself than ever before. I don't really see myself as 61. I'm 61.
Yeah, me too.
John Leister sitting in this chair is really 7 years old, because my true life's journey began in 2019 when I got off the couch, when I started working out, not just once in a blue moon, but every day, whether it's yoga or weightlifting or walking.
Do you remember the month in 2019? Because this is very interesting.
But it was. I consider that my rebirth year.
Summertime?
I consider that my birth year. I can't remember.
In 2019, I had an epiphany, a major change in my life. It was COVID and things were not going well. I could see what was happening in Vancouver in real estate. I could see what was happening because I'm statistically, I just follow stats. The stats don't lie. The only time the stats lie are the people making the stats making mistakes, or the person telling you that the stats are true are lying. At the end of the day, stats are... It's a really good guideline in life for so many different things. But Johnny, thank you for that. What's your next question for me? And I've got one more after yours.
Okay, well, we kind of touched on this already just now, but this would be your answer. What's one thing you did as a young man that you will never do again?
Probably try to start a family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's not like I'm 61. It's not like it's just I can't. I've been in a relationship with my wife going on 28, 29 years, and I want to be in that relationship until my last breath, whatever that means. And if I was to start another family, it would be without her. So that's just not going to happen. And that's the reality for me. And initially, I was very, very upset, very disappointed because I couldn't believe it. I was like, why me? Why does all this bad shit happen to me? Like, why am I being abandoned? Why am I being attacked? Why am I being beat up? Why am I being bullied? Why? Why? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? This is a question you ask all the time. Instead of asking why, I got off my ass and created and reinvented myself, not just once, dozens of times. And I don't know anything else but because change is all around us. And if you don't adapt, you're going to be left behind.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want to adapt, if you don't want to reinvent yourself, maybe you're tired. Maybe you're just fed up. Maybe you just don't have it in you anymore. And I'd recommend people reaching out and finding friends, going to programs, help, volunteer, stay positive. But at the end of the day, that doesn't happen for everyone. So, we're all on the clock, the way Johnny and I, we talk about it all the time.
I worked security at another library for 3 years. And I was always impressed by these guys who were our age, who walked into the library. It just moved me. They'd say, I don't know anything about computers. I don't know what Google is. I don't know what the internet is. Can someone please sit down with me and show me how to do this stuff? And of course, the library.
Well, that's why I came up with the technology question, right? Because it affects everyone.
And I was always very inspired by that. We need information in order to achieve our goals. And so it's not always available on the internet. Sometimes you have to find people, but you have to demonstrate to people that you're worth helping. And I'd like to think that I did that back in 2019 when I was coming to the library every day after work and on my days off trying to get first darn book posted.
Well,
and they'd look at me and they'd say, here he comes, here we go.
Yeah, Johnny, 7 years later, you're still doing it. So you're manifesting and you're living it. And that's why we have this show, because you created this as much as you wanted it.
Thank you. I mean, the older we get, the more, in The Matrix, I'm watching The Matrix on TV, which you talked about earlier.
I'm going to watch it tonight just because you brought it up 14 times today.
The scene where Neo meets the
Don't tell me I'm going to watch it tonight. I don't want to know anything more. I want it to be shocking, and my new 55-inch crystal UHD blah blah blah. I got it for $400. Is incredible, and it just changes how you watch movies. So I'm going to make popcorn tonight and some butter, and I'm going to get into it. But my last question, Johnny,
Yes, sir.
before we finish the show up, it's been a great show, and this is for people that are wanting to or needing to or desperate to understand the art of reinvention and how one does it. Watch this show. Watch it again multiple times. And manifest what we're sharing. We're sharing this from the kindness of our hearts, our soul, our spirit, our mind. Johnny and I are both surrounded by the white light of love, and that's how we live. And we're proud Canadians, and we really enjoy this episode. But before we go into Johnny's writing and our books that we're reading and a closure of the show, I have one last question for Johnny.
Yes, sir.
What kind of wisdom, or just what wisdom generally, do people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s have, more generally speaking, based on life experiences, than younger generations? And what should all of these people tell younger generations? What should they hear from us that have this? If you were to say top 3 things that you would tell people of a younger generation based on your experiences thus far that could resonate with them, even if they're not listening and have very little attention for absorption because they're on their phones and laptop and in la la land and thinking about makeup or traveling, who knows? What would you tell these folks with your life experience at this point?
Well, when I was a young man, a lot of people gave me tons of great advice, and it was just like rubber balls bouncing off a brick wall. But because we can become ensconced in the way that we live our lives.
Ensconced? Well.
Thank you so much. I would say to these young people, look, you have free will. You're not your mother. You're not your father. Look at your parents. Look at all the people around you, and just focus on what's good about them. Focus on what impresses you about them. It doesn't have to be anything grandiose. It could be something like punctuality.
Just positivity in general.
It could be something like good hygiene. It could be something like friendliness. But I think that so many people, and here's the thing, mindfulness. They're not even aware that they're doing it. They soak in all the negativity. They look at other people and they just see the bad stuff, and it becomes contagious. Yeah. And so they become more and more like those kinds of people, and they begin to lose their true selves. I don't think any of us were born to be couch potatoes. We become couch potatoes because it's the easiest thing in life to feel overwhelmed, to be overwhelmed by work, by our own misgivings, our pet peeves, our global events. When we feel overwhelmed, the temptation to just withdraw from life, which I did to a large degree for 35 years. I wouldn't say that I was recluse, but I was leaning in that direction. The temptation becomes very, very alluring. And so many people spend their whole lives hiding under a blanket. They're smart, they're creative, they have tons and tons of stuff to share with the world, but they're afraid. They're afraid of failure, they're afraid of success, they're afraid of being mocked, they're afraid of losing friendships. They just want the status quo.
Fear is a massive motivating force for many. We've reached an hour, Johnny. I think we should wrap her up for today. We're going to continue this episode in our wellness series in the future, but we just try to hard hit for about 45 minutes, have a little fun with 15 minutes, and hopefully you enjoy the show. And you know the whole deal. Subscribe, like, comment, please comment, share, and we'll answer every comment. And we're going to do our favorite books. I'm going to have to grab my book, Johnny, because I'm going to pull out one that I haven't actually read, and I've been looking at it, and I can't believe I've never brought it up. I brought another basketball one. Of course, it's going to be basketball. I'm a hoop junkie, everyone, and the episode that Johnny and I are just filming right now is episode 83, All Things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny at the Canadian Bro Show podcast. The second iteration of At the Canadian Bro Show on our free YouTube channel and podcast is all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Raleigh. And then, of course, I'm a licensed realtor, an investor, landlord. We talk about real estate quite often, and we do a ton of interviews. We've got a few episodes in the can, and one of them is going to be, two of them are interview related. And Johnny, are you ready to... let's talk about, before we go, Johnny's going to read. I'll just let Johnny explain it, and take a deep breath and slow down the reading because you get so motivated. And Johnny's going to tell you about his character, about what he's writing, and where you can buy it. And he is a published author. And Johnny, what would you like to share? And tell them about your episode while I can go grab my book, and then you can get into the episode. I'll be literally 15 seconds.
Very good. Okay, everyone. I'm a self-published author. I started in 2019. I use Draft2 Digital. Anyone out there who wants to be a writer, if you love to read, then you love to write. They both go hand in hand. And my hero is named Lee Hacklin. He's a private investigator. Most of my stories are set during the 1970s. He's a smoker. He drinks like a fish. And he's kind of a ladies' man, kind of a skirt chaser. But he has a heart of gold. And he is a quintessential heroic kind of guy, just like Paul Bale. Okay, I uploaded another one today. This one is called Chicago Ready, Chicago Set, Chicago Go.
Wow, what a great title. That's one of your best titles. I love it.
My favorite one too. I'm very proud of that one too. Thank you so much. And I started another one today, and this one is called Witchcraft Services. Ooh. Here we go. Chapter 1, New York City, 1978. Lee, do you ever feel like you're different from everybody else? All the time. When I was a kid, all my friends, I've never had one, played football and basketball while I read Superboy comic books and watched Batman on ABC. Biff, bam, kapow. Yvonne Craig was my first love. We're birds of a feather, pal. His name was Oliver Twist. What the dickens? We were sitting on bar stools in my local watering hole, the Night House. It was a stone's throw away from my Queens studio apartment. Saturday. My favorite Bay City Rollers song was blasting away on 2 mounted speakers. The place was packed. Oliver was an old-looking 20-something, short of stature, and his hair was thinning. We drank 1 pint of male ale after another, and pretty soon the two of us were evenly hammered. A beautiful blonde in a tight and revealing dress entered and sat at a table. A lot of heads, male and female, turned her way. This gal caused a lot of car accidents. Oliver smiled at her, and she smiled back at him. I said, slurred, "Why don't you ask her to dance?" He blushed. I'm way out of her league. You know why you don't believe in yourself? This kind of ties into our podcast. It's because you're thinking the way other people want you to think. Why don't you think the way you want to think? Then you'll start believing in yourself. He chug-a-lugged the rest of his beer, stood and staggered slightly towards Blondie. Liquid courage is better than no courage at all. A minute later, they were dancing. Attaboy. Oliver looked like he was having an epileptic seizure. A muscular man in a tank top cut in and pushed Oliver to the floor. I stood. Dun da da da, dun dun dun, dun da da da, dun da da. I helped Oliver to his feet. Thanks, Lee. I'm taking your advice. To my utter astonishment, he clocked Bully Boy, and the crowd cheered. 50 years later, I attended the Golden Jubilee wedding anniversary of Oliver Twist and his wife Simone, aka Blondie. I like stories with happy endings. Surely this one counts. That's chapter 1.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. I just special. There's an agent waiting outside my studio in Kelowna. And
when you do what you love, here's the thing. Sometimes when I come from work, I'm just absolutely exhausted. When you do what you love, you will always have the energy to do it, if that makes sense.
yeah,
The energy manifests all by itself.
yeah. And we're here at the Canadian Bro Show podcast. If you enjoy that, just remember, play hard, stay focused, and live your game. Subscribe at the Canadian Bro Show. Like, share, comment, please. Any comment, we will answer any and all, whether they're appropriate or only in one case so far not appropriate, but I still answered anyway. So, and wonderful writing once again, Johnny. When you slow it down and you get into the character, it's such a wonderful thing. And thinking Netflix, producers out there, Netflix 70s, Netflix television series. I'm telling you, it will be an absolute hit. You'll get 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 seasons out of it for sure before they cancel, if they ever do. In saying that, Johnny, I just want to say thank you for the episode. It has been fantastic. And you're going to do a pun before we go. Or we're going to do the books first.
I went to Indigo Books today. I love books so much.
Indigo, I love it.
This is the father of Lee Hacklin, Sam Spade, the very first Sam Spade book.
The Maltese Falcon. Holy crap.
I read that chapter 1 today, and it's really.
I read that in the 80s, I believe, early 80s. Yeah.
How about your book?
My book it's not really it's a book because it has covers, and it's massive. It's called by Vincent N. Mazzoli, The Legends of the Game, and it's, of course, Michael Jordan. Wow. And it's a basketball, and it's thick, and it's got unbelievable the photos. I opened the photos, and look at Julius Erving and Alex English. Every photo I open is another superstar. So I get lost in the nostalgia, and because I'm a hoop junkie.
Here's your exercise for the day, just reading that book.
No, it's not reading it. I already know, I've already read it numerous times, but I haven't pulled it out for so long that it's a good way, an anthology, not a massive one. I've got one that's 6 inches, total basketball, that's 6 inches of the history of basketball from the early, since Dr. James Naismith invented the game until now. And that thing is, they would never reprint those again because it's 1,500 pages. And it makes Tolstoy look like a children's book. It is absolutely, it's unbelievable. And before we go, Johnny likes to, because he's a writer, we're both writers, we're all writers on this show, but Johnny's the most prolific writer, and he's the only one that is actually published as a professional. Johnny, what is your pun today?
Here we go. I told my doctor I was addicted to Costco. He said I have Stockholm Syndrome. You're welcome.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. We're going to wrap everything up here. We're an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us. New episode in the next 24 hours or so. And we got a couple of episodes in the can every week. We have a new episode. This was episode 83, which should be at some point next early week. And that is the art of reinvention for men and women over 40. Midlife crisis or at a second chapter in one's life. Johnny, once again, thank you for bringing your talents, and you were actually motivated to the show, and I'm really impressed and appreciate everything you bring to the show. I'm going to take you out, and Johnny, I'll talk to you in the after show. Thanks kindly. We'll talk to you soon. And I'm going to take myself out, and I'm going to change the music so you can hear one of our theme songs. Oh, I think I like this one better. Oh, here we go. All right, so everybody, thank you very much. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. I'm going to leave my thumbnail up with our theme music, and at the end of the day, before I go, thank you for joining, and please be kind out there. Just be nice, be kind, go out of your way, don't expect anything. That's all we ask for in this life. Peace, love, and happiness from all of the crew at the Canadian Bro Show podcast. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Canadian